Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shauna Forrest. I'm the Director of Player Development for USTA New England. I've been on leave for a few months, so a few of you may be familiar, but some of you may be new faces. So it's nice to see all of you and see all of you on the webinar here. So thanks for joining. This is the third session in our college showcase series. This is going to be our student athlete panel. We have a great discussion lined up for everyone here today. If you do have to hop off early, not to worry, this session is being recorded, so we will send that out at the end of the session just in case you wanted to review anything or maybe had additional questions that may have been addressed after you left. So first, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Elise Hamlin, who will be our moderator for this session. Thank you, Elise, for joining us and really taking this and running with it. Elise is a former New England player, former collegiate player at Duke, and newly appointed coach at Northwestern. So I will go ahead and just pass it off to you.
Thanks, Shauna. Thanks for having me. Super excited for this conversation tonight. All these kids on the call are great and have some awesome experiences to share. So with that being said, if you guys have any questions during this call, please feel free to drop it in the chat box and we will get to them at some point. So to start off, the panel is going to give you a little introduction about who they are and their backgrounds, and then answer the question of what is their favorite thing to do outside of being on the tennis team at their respective colleges. And I'm going to put someone on the hot spot right away. Connor, why don't you start?
All right. My name's Conson. I'm from Groveland, Massachusetts, and I go to Bentley University. It's a Division II school. It's part of the NE10 conference, and I'm currently a fifth-year grad student there, as well as the captain of the tennis team. And my favorite thing to do aside from tennis, there's a lot of things to do at Bentley, but one thing that I'm involved in is I act in a lot of student films. And then another thing I was involved with is that I was Bentley's Got Talent finalist in the 2020 competition.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. What's your major?
Accounting is my focus. So I'm going to try to become a CPA after I graduate in the spring.
Nice. All right, Paige, why don't you go?
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Paige Freeman. I'm from Ashland, Massachusetts. Currently going to be a junior at the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. My major is neuroscience with pre-med concentration. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Oh, my favorite thing to do upcoming in the fall is definitely football games. I'm super excited.
Nice. Alyssa, why don't you go?
Yeah, so hi guys, my name is Alyssa. I go to the University of New Hampshire and I'm a captain on the club tennis team there. We unfortunately, so the club team fills that spot. I'm actually on the team with Connor's sister, Maggie Olson, and she's awesome too. So my major is marketing and international business. And I would say my favorite thing to do outside of tennis is probably photography.
Maggie, you're up next.
Hey guys, I'm Maggie Dore. I'm going to be a rising senior at Tufts University. I'm going to be one of the captains on the team next year. We're in the NESCAC League. I'm involved in a bunch of clubs on campus, like Tufts Women's Entrepreneurs, the Sports Business Club. I also work in the athletic center, so I work with greeting a lot of other recruits and helping coaches with stuff, working at the desk. I love spending time with my friends and also going to watch other sporting events on campus. Yeah.
Awesome. So as you can see, we have a very diverse and great group with us. So to start off, the first question is going to be, at some point you had all started thinking about college tennis during your junior careers. How did you initially start that search of looking into potential fits for you to continue your tennis career?
I'll start it off. So it was helpful that I had an older brother going through the same process. So around freshman year of high school, I was able to get a little bit more of a firsthand look at what it was all about and what were things that I would want to consider. For me, it was really trying to figure out what was important in my process, what I wanted to focus on when I was talking to schools and coaches. And honestly, like the biggest thing is just talking to everyone, getting a feel for any kind of school, regardless of how interested, just so I could be able to compare and see what really felt like the best fit for me.
So
Yeah, so my kind of process when I was looking for colleges is I was looking at a very wide variety of schools. I was looking at big schools, small schools, D1, D2, D3, some without tennis programs. Um, but my main focus was trying to find a good blend between academics and athletics. And so the things that I would kind of do is I use like just general online services that would help match like potential colleges that I'd be interested in based off of my preferences and what I'm looking for in schools. And then from there, I would compile a list that I want to look into further. And then I'd reach out to the coaches there, see what kind of opportunities are there for tennis, and then see if I could find something from that. I've also played in a few college showcases, and that was a great way for me to interact with a lot of the college coaches that I was interested in. And that was basically how I found Bentley. One of the college showcases, I met the coach Rick, and everything worked out in the end.
it always
Yeah.
does.
I can go after Connor. Kind of going off what Paige and Connor both said. I think junior tennis kind of like opened you up to meeting a lot of like wide varieties of schools. So, you know, playing like nationals and then going to a bunch of showcases and sectionals. I think that summer really opened you up to meeting a bunch of coaches. And for me, I looked at a lot of D1s, I looked at a lot of D3s, and kind of like, you know, when you go on visits, getting a feel for, you know, the people on campus, the team, the coach, really like, you know, where you can see yourself at the end of the day, like what feels like home. And I eventually narrowed my search down to, you know, where I could just like see myself fitting in the most with tennis and school.
Going off of what Maggie just said, that was kind of a similar situation for me. I not only played in USTA tournaments, but there were a lot of coaches that actually came to the state finals in New Hampshire, where I live. So that was where I got a lot of contact with coaches and ended up at UNH as well. A huge consideration for me also was price, just because, you know, student loans these days, it can be absolutely daunting and overwhelming. And so if you can do merit scholarships and combine that with your varsity athletics as well, or club athletics in my case, that's something that can really help ease all of those financial worries along the way.
Sure, I agree. So when you're looking at these schools, you know, you're talking about these lists and what you're looking for. What do you think were some of the most important qualities that you were looking for in these colleges? Let's just say two of the most important qualities.
Well, kind of going off what Alyssa was just talking about, for me, one of the things that I definitely focused on was kind of like the return on my investment that I would get at a particular school. Like obviously college can be pretty expensive, so I was looking for schools that were maybe known to provide good financial aid or academic and athletic scholarships. And then beyond that, I would try to gauge where I'd be after having gone through the school as well, if I'd be set up with a good job afterwards, and a career that I can figure out as I go. And then the next important quality I would probably say is just both the school and the tennis team's culture. And I generally would ask myself if I could see myself being happy in the kind of environment that the school provided, and ultimately whether or not I would be able to grow in that kind of atmosphere as well.
For sure. Going off Connor, I would say culture was a big part of like why I chose Notre Dame in particular. The level of excellence that they really try to strive for in both academics and athletics, and as people, was something that really stood out to me. And I loved the people on campus. I think being on campus is and visiting any kind of college campus is something that really sets the tone of like the vibe of what you're expecting. And then just the blend of, if I could see myself living there, do I want to call this home? Is this where I feel like I could find my people to really set me up for the future?
Yeah, I agree with Paige. I think the two biggest things for me were people and culture. I think the people, that's the biggest thing that I love about this school. Right off the bat, everyone's so collaborative and just wants to help you. And that was big for me. I really wanted everyone to, contribute to the success, like everyone wins together. And so I love that. And just the overall culture, just walking around campus, like, where do you see yourself succeeding the most at the end of the day? And those two just align for me.
Kind of echo what everybody was just saying. Culture, atmosphere, environment is so huge for where you're trying to place yourself in the future. If you're walking through a campus and everybody's always indoors studying and that's the right vibe for you, that's awesome. But for me, it was not. So I visited those types of colleges and was like, oh no, I don't want to go somewhere where I'm studying all the time and can't have some fun on the side as well. And when I came to UNH, everybody was outside playing frisbee, spike ball, like all of these different fun athletic activities. And I really felt like I belonged there just walking along the streets on campus. So atmosphere is huge. I would also say really pay attention to what your major you would like to major in and kind of what different opportunities different colleges may offer you. If you're not as sure, then a liberal arts college might be the best for you in terms of really figuring that out. But if you're dead set on, then make sure that the school that you're going to has the appropriate resources in order to kind of help you along that journey, and internships or experience learning.
Awesome. I mean, you guys have kind of taken my next question about the college visits. I think college visits are great. And, I think there's a lot of things that can happen, good or bad. So, what were kind of your guys' different college experiences? What tips, would you give yourself if you could go back, and, questions that you would ask yourself, things like that when you go on those campuses? I know they can be, kind of intimidating at some times. So how did you guys tackle that?
I think, like you said, the college visits was what really helped me finalize my decision making and narrow down my choices. I think the best part about visits is being able to interact with the team itself. At that point, most of the time, you're just talking to the coaches, and that gives you a feel, but really, like, who the people you're going to be spending 4 years with or 5, whatever, is very important, because teammates can and coaches will come and go, but how the culture of is the team and what the program is like is what's really gonna give you the biggest feel for how your actual experience is going to be. So that was something I really focused on, just trying to get to know the people, like who they are outside of the tennis world, because I really wanted to be like great friends with my team as well and be able to share those experiences, not only on court, but off court as well.
Yeah, I agree with Paige. I think the visits were the biggest thing for me. So, you can see like who you really mold with, and getting to really know the teammates like on and off the court, like going to visit matches, talking with the coaches, walking around campus. I think you get to know people, as individuals and not just as the program. So like you grow a lot once you visit the team. You really get a feel for what everyone's priorities are. And I think that definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, same thing for me. When I visited Bentley, I knew that's where I made my decision, because I got exposure to what it would be like to be on campus with the teammates that I'd be playing with for the next 4 years. And basically, I just knew it was right when I went there. I visited a few other schools, and they were great. But when I went to Bentley, I just knew that that's where I would fit in best, and I could see how my next 4 years here would progress, and I really like the atmosphere that it provided, and so that's what helped me make my decision.
One thing I was really worried about coming to UNH was the fact that we don't actually have a varsity tennis team, and I would be playing club tennis. I was afraid it wouldn't be at that competitive level that I really was looking for in my college experience. But the great thing about being on a club tennis team is you can really make it your own. So as much as you want to put into it, you'll get out of it. I'm a captain, obviously, and I've been playing at every practice, match, We have a very consistent schedule. We travel for tournaments, nationals, sectionals, and we actually just passed it through administration to get all of our tennis courts redone as well. So for you juniors who are going to be freshmen, you're going to experience brand new courts at UNH if you decide to come here, that is. But so it's been an awesome experience for me thus far. So even if you do decide to go to a school and do club tennis instead of varsity, it's not the end of the world. You're still going to get to play at a really high level of competitive tennis and really enjoy yourself at the same time.
That's awesome. Well, you guys had such good experiences on your visits. I know I was stressed out during mine, and I think it's great that everyone found their home. So now regarding like the college search strategies that went into some of this and picking your choices and things like that, you know, people have their dream list and then they have their, you know, the next colleges and things like that. What were some of the methods that you guys use to, you know, get attention from coaches or talk to coaches, starting to form those relationships in order to, you know, see where you could potentially be?
I mean, I think it's natural to have a dream list. Everyone feel like there's a vision of where you want to be, and growing up, like there's that one school that you might love. I think the biggest thing going into it is keeping an open mind. A lot of the times, like you might not even think about a school, and then you actually like love the visit, you love the coaches, the people. Really just keeping that open mindset for sure. But also, like for me, it was really important to go to a school that wanted me to, you know, and if your dream school lines up with that, that's great. But I wanted to be in a program that I felt like not only could I make a difference, but that my coaches believed in me, that my teammates believed in me, saw my potential as a player. And, you know, I really felt like that was the best way to get the most out of my relationship there. And so it kind of became more about my relationship with the coaches instead of like necessarily my dream school. And then it ended up being a really great experience for me so far.
Going off of what Paige just said, it's really important to leverage the connections that you already have. So if you have any friends who are playing tennis in college or playing a different sport in college, and you're just happen to be going to visit them and want to experience kind of the tennis team, there's no harm in reaching out to a coach or even one of the players and saying, hey, do you mind if I come and watch a practice or like meet with you for one-on-one lunch or something like that. So really leveraging the connections you already have in your life. And if you guys went to this most recent showcase, that's a part of this entire USTA New England event, then you're already on the right track. There are college coaches there recruiting. So going to those showcases, playing in USTA tournaments, inviting coaches to come and watch you play in matches in the spring or in those tournaments whenever during the year are all great methods to getting.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Paige and Melissa said. Another thing that I did as a way to get noticed by some coaches is I made a college recruiting video and I just put it on YouTube, and then I would use that like when I reach out to coaches at schools I'm interested in, I'd send them an email, just introduce myself, say how I'm interested in their school, maybe playing for their program. And then I would drop the link to my video so they can see the kind of style that I play. And then obviously if they're more interested, we'll talk further. And then if I see them at showcases, introduce myself there. And then just establish that first connection I feel like is the biggest point.
Yeah, kind of echoing what everyone said. I think that junior tennis and tournaments like really set you up well with like showcases and those big tournaments where you're kind of, you know, on the spotlight and you have a ton of people wanting to watch you. And I think a really big thing for me was I wanted to go somewhere where I was going to grow on and off the court, as cheesy as that sounds. I think that's really important to also see yourself growing as an individual in like the academic and your personal life just as much in tennis, because ultimately those are going to set each other up. So when I was looking, I kind of like what Paige said, I really looked for coaches that like really believed in me and like really wanted me at their program and that I can make an immediate impact. And I think when you have that mindset and you go in, you're just setting yourself up to find the best place.
Yeah, awesome. You know, I think that's the only way. And, kind of going off of what Connor and Alyssa were saying about the college showcases, how are those experiences? What happens at those? Kind of walk me through a little bit about that process, and how that helped make a difference for you.
Sure. So I played in two tournaments that were specifically showcases. I think one was at Harvard, one was at Yale, maybe. And I definitely benefited from them. I think my strategy going into them was I would look at all the coaches that were going to be there, and for the schools that I was interested in, let them know that I was going to be there and how I'd love to introduce myself there, meet in person, maybe if they're able to watch some of my matches. And then so when I'm actually there, I'll see them, go over and introduce myself in person, and then maybe discuss like future possibilities at playing at their school. And then I feel like that was the best way to go about it for me. And it definitely paid off because I met Rick there at one of my showcases, and that's where I'm playing now. So it definitely were beneficial to me.
As Connor was just saying too, it's always great to do your research ahead of time. So like he was saying, look up a list of coaches that are going to be at that event and ones that you can reach out to and network with ahead of time. And then when you introduce yourself in person, always try to make sure you leave some kind of impact, whether you're being extremely friendly or inquiring about the team, really showing that you really want to be there and are really excited and passionate about the sport and the school itself, just to make sure that in the long run, if they're going through a list of people and they're like, oh yeah, that Connor Olson, he was a great kid, we would love to have him here on the team, just makes you stand out in their mind.
Awesome. So moving on to just the final decision that you guys made in your college search, if what was, that ended up being like the final thing that kind of pushed you to make the decision to go where you are. I mean, I can pinpoint in my head what mine was, so curious to see what your guys's is.
I can go. Sorry, there's an AC unit kind of going off the side of me. That's what that sound is. For me was going to a match. I remember that exact day coming and the camaraderie that was, like going on between both teams. And I just knew. When I visited and I came to that match, I knew I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. This is where I could see myself growing. Like it just clicked. Seeing like an actual match, and I could see myself playing on that team, and I just knew right away then.
I think for me, it was probably when I actually got my offer. So I was on a visit, I think it was January of my junior year, and I was with my mom. We went to like a hockey game, we just did a tour or whatever, and we went back and got and we just like sat down with the coaches, and I got the offer. I remember calling like my dad after, because my mom was right there, and we were both happy, crying on the phone. And I didn't commit right away, but I think looking back, I knew that I knew that's where I wanted to be. Like that was just, it felt right. And all of those years of hard work and sacrifice kind of like rolled into one. So that was something that, I mean, I'll always remember. And I remember calling the coach back a couple of weeks later, but it was just something that when it's right, it's there, and it's not even like necessarily a tangible thing, but like you just got to lean on what and have that gut feeling, and it's going to work out for sure.
Yeah, going off of what Paige said, I completely agree. You just know when you know. Like for me, that was when I went on my visit to the college, and I stayed with one of my teammates on an overnight, and I met some of the other teammates there. We played some tennis. He showed me all around campus, everything that Bentley has to offer, and I just fell in love right away. And I knew that after leaving that visit, compared to the other visits, I knew that Bentley was the right place for me to be.
For me, it was when I went on a second tour of UNH and it was pouring rain the entire day. And it was cloudy, gross. Like I was soaking wet because I didn't bring any kind of rain covering whatsoever. But I was still happy and I still loved the campus, even though it was torrential rain downpour at the time. And I think it really speaks when you're on a campus and you still love it, even in the most inclement of weather. I still loved the atmosphere that was happening. I loved going in all the buildings and everything. And even though it was raining outside, you still felt at home. So I guess that also comes with a piece of advice. So try to tour your campus before you commit on a rainy or gross day, and make sure it still feels like home.
That is good advice. I don't think I did that. That's good. So you are all playing tennis in college. So looking just at the tennis side, what was most important to you when looking at these programs that offer different things, different cultures? Like what stood out to you and what were you looking for?
Yeah, I can go. I think I was really looking for a team that functioned as a family. I can say that my team, it's a family. Like you are going to be supported from the first day you step on campus and, forever. Like everyone always stays in touch and is willing to help you in every aspect of your life, be it personal, school, tennis, you name it. Every single girl on the team is so willing to help you all the time. So that was really huge for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I really loved the family atmosphere of my team and just someone that or everyone on the team, but that you can count on those people through anything. And that was a huge, huge deal. You have like automatic people as soon as you get on campus, which is a very, daunting thing going into college, not really knowing many people, but the fact that you're already in a family, in a unit, it really helped the transition. And then I also, from a tennis perspective side, I still had a lot of goals going into college. I still wanted to accomplish a lot of things on court individually, but also as a team. And so I really wanted to be in a program that would set me up like that and also make an impact on the team. And it really allowed me to continue to develop as a tennis player.
Yeah, I completely agree with both Maggie and Paige. I think one of the best things is going to a place where you don't know many people and then automatically being set up with a bunch of friends right away. I was the only person from my high school that went to Bentley, and so to have familiar faces around campus just from your team it's definitely helps the transition, helps you adjust to a new atmosphere. As far as the tennis, I was definitely just looking for very competitive, high level tennis. Bentley always puts together a pretty good schedule, and so when we battle against other teams, our camaraderie just strengthens like that. And I think that's probably the biggest change from junior tennis is that you're doing everything together with your team, and you go from match to match playing like very competitive tennis all the time, and so you really have to support each other the whole way through.
So my situation's a little bit different since UNH's team is a club team. And so I actually had to try out at the beginning of my freshman year before I made the team. Once I did, I was really glad to be on that team and made so many friends of all different majors, which was huge for me since being in a business school is sometimes a little bit confining, just in terms of meeting people externally from different art schools and all of that. So that was a great outlet for me. And club teams are typically run by the captains, not necessarily the coaches. So we do all of the fundraising, managing finances, match scheduling, practices. All of that falls on the captain's shoulders. So we're able to actually schedule matches like every single weekend, fall, spring, winter. As much as we really want to play, we can play and can accomplish that. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of, like I said before, as much as you put into it, you're going to get out of it.
Awesome. You guys are hitting on all my next transition questions. So yeah, you guys had touched a little bit about, the transition from junior tennis to college tennis. Was it easier than you expected? What were kind of those expectations you had going in? And then, reality hits when you actually get there, and, maybe you're away from home for the first time, or, things happen. So, was it as you expected?
Yeah, for me, it was everything that I hoped and dreamed it would be, as cliche as that sounds. I was so excited to play college tennis and to be on a team. And so I came in, and I think that this has already been touched on, but being on a team really helps you kind of just integrate yourself really quickly on campus, because it's like an immediate family that will always have your back and is there to help you with everything. So I think my transition was pretty smooth because we started right out in our fall season. And so I was really busy with school and tennis, and I kind of just like found myself really quickly immersed in the student athlete atmosphere at the school. And I think the team was a huge factor in that. The coaches were so supportive, and everyone was there to really help you at the end of the day, just be happy and grow on and off the court. And so I think every person on the team just wanted to see you succeed and be happy. And I think that just made the transition pretty smooth.
For me, I had definitely a hard transition, I would say. Freshman fall, I think any college, like any athlete I've talked to on campus has had that moment of, what am I doing here? Can I do this? Because it's a grind, like for sure. We were right into 20-hour weeks, like 6 a.m. wake ups, 6 days a week, probably the most. And I was injured at the time, so I was definitely like coming from it at a different angle, but it was definitely like hitting a brick wall, and just everything different, away from home, meeting new people you don't really know as much, you're with a roommate. It's a hard transition for sure for anyone really, but I think I just really leaned in on the people on my team. I leaned in with my friends and family from home, and just leaned into the process, knowing that it was gonna get better. I was gonna get more acclimated, and trust that I did make the right choice. And I'm glad that I did, because obviously I love it now. But it's not something that is just gonna snap your fingers and change overnight, but just definitely knowing that, like, with relationships it comes time, and really making sure that you just stick your head down and keep working, and it will work out.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a huge adjustment, and it's not always easy to transition to college. But the way that, in my experience, the way that it was is it was a big adjustment, but there was also a lot of resources to help you get acclimated to the environment. Like especially as a freshman, when you go in, you have orientation, you have a lot of events going on, especially early on, where you can find some friend groups, find things that you like to do, get into a routine with your classes and tennis and everything. And also, obviously, your tennis teams, like we said, your immediate family there and helps you through it as well. So I feel like the biggest thing is just to not get overwhelmed with everything that's happening. There's a lot of changes, but you just gotta push through. I feel like the first couple weeks are always tough being alone on your own. But after a little while, you just fall into your place, and it's great.
Personally, I feel like college, when you start college your freshman year, that's the one main chance in your life where you're going to get a completely fresh start to be whoever you want to be, do whatever you want to do, be the friend you want to be, the person you want to be, the player you want to be. So put yourself out there, meet people on your tennis team, off your tennis team, in your major, meet as many people as you want to or can meet, and try new things. It's really a chance for self-discovery. As cliche as it is, college is a chance for self-discovery. So try the thing that you haven't been wanting to try, and just don't be afraid to take risks, because this is your chance in life to really do that.
We have a question here, Elise.
Yeah, go for it.
So there are 3 aspects of college life: academics, tennis, and social. It has been said you have to pick 2. Would you comment on that, please?
I wouldn't say you have to pick just two. As I was just saying, you kind of fall into a routine. Mine was classes in the morning, tennis in the afternoon, and then social afterwards. So I wouldn't say you have to, it might be a little bit of a trade-off, but you can definitely enjoy all three of those environments.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that sometimes there comes a little more sacrifice in one than the other. Of course, with like traveling, you have a couple exams, whatever. But I think, time management is super important as being a student athlete regardless. So just making sure that it's important to have friends and have a life outside of court and school anyways. And that was what really helped me also stay grounded and be a person outside of being a student athlete. So I think it's really important to try to get as good of a balance of that as you can.
Yeah, I really believe that you can balance all three of those things. And I think as a student athlete, it comes down to time management, like how well you're going to organize your time. There's going to be weeks where you're going to be in the library, super late, studying for exams or traveling all weekend, going to matches and tournaments. And it's definitely going to be a grind. And sometimes there's going to be a little bit of give in certain areas on certain weeks. And it's just balancing it and finding, meeting as many people as possible. I think coming in, what my cousin told me, she was a couple years older than me. She's like, just meet as many people as you can, talk to everyone you can. So that's kind of what I did. I just tried to meet as many people as I can on other teams. And you just kind of find the balance once I think you find your place. So I think that there's definitely a balance. It's just like managing your time and figuring out, when you can do things and when you can.
If I can add sleep into that mix, sleep, academics, tennis, and social, that would probably be more accurate for myself of only picking two. But honestly, like everybody was just saying, it does all come down to time management. If you have time in between practices, in between different match rotations or anything like that to get homework done, really just taking advantage of those free times that you have to accomplish some of the tasks that you might need to in a different area of your life is so huge, just to attain that balance that everybody had mentioned previously.
So all of you skipped the question by not picking two, but I'll take all your answers because they were better. So with that being said, we touched upon like that balance of the athletic and academic life. How or what resources did you use? What, time management was a big thing. Was there anything else that you went through and learned over time to, balance both of those?
I think the most important thing is just to stay ahead of everything. Because like when you're in college, there's not going to be like the professors aren't going to be on your back to get your assignments done. You have to motivate yourself to get ahead on your own. And then when you get ahead on your own, that's when you have the more free time to do like social life and tennis. So I think the most important thing is just organization. What I would do as a freshman, I just write out everything that I needed to do and like the dates that I needed to do them by, and then just start grinding whenever you had free time where you weren't playing tennis or you weren't being social. Just try to get ahead as quickly as you can, and then you have more time for the other things you want to do.
For sure. Time management, organization, super important. And use the resources that give you. People do want to help, and asking for help is like not necessarily something that everyone wants to do, but people are there for you to support you and want you to succeed. And being able to use those resources, like I know I went to a sports psychologist freshman year, and I still do because we have a great relationship, and he's like another person on campus that I can go to and just talk. And it's nice to know that you have people there that really care about you. So just use who's there, because I mean, at the end of the day, there are going to be some struggles, there's going to be some adversities, there are going to be sometimes you're stressed, but knowing that there are people there for you is super helpful. And then also one thing I always did, and I still do, is I have breakfast by myself twice a week, because you're always around people. And especially freshman year, I didn't pick my roommate. So, like it's a little uncomfortable. You're always like, whatever, but I loved that. I thought it was the best thing. My brother told me to do it, and just like being able to be by yourself and, reset, whatever it is. I thought it was good. So.
Yeah, I have a lot to go off what Paige said. I think in terms of biggest resources, those are the people around you. I think I looked for mentors a lot my freshman year, and that ended up being older girls on my team or older girls on other teams. And they were always there in terms of like academic questions, balancing student life and your social life. And so till this day, I'm going to be a senior and I still text those older people all the time, like when I don't know what to do with certain things on and off the court. I think also as a freshman, it's really important to like know when to reset and to, give yourself time. So there'd be days where I would eat lunch alone in the library in the basement. So in a cubicle, so that I could organize what I have to do for the rest of the day, so that I could, hang out with friends after practice and after I get all my studies done. So making sure you take the time for yourself, like when you need to reset, take a nap, eat a sandwich alone, like do what you got to do so that you can stay on track the rest of the time. And every single person around you is going to be a resource. So use them like as much as possible.
Something that's been huge in balancing everything for me has been just prioritizing what you think is most important in your life in terms of like academics, tennis, everything that comes along with that. If something you think is like, I don't necessarily need to your priorities list, you need to make sure that you have your values up at the forefront of what you're doing, and also just like what is really most important to you is really what it comes down to it. And like Paige and Maggie were saying, take advantage of those resources that are free to you, whether it be a sports psychologist, a student tutor for academics, like advising offices. Those are all free and they're included in your tuition. So you might as well take advantage of them while you have them. So really know that those resources are there for you.
Yeah, you guys touched upon that. That's awesome. The thing that stood out to me was take a nap, Maggie. I wish I would have done that more. So, this whole balance of junior tennis and then going into college, it's crazy stressful. How are how did you deal with that? How did you deal with the stress, the pressure? There's injuries and there's just, there's a lot going on. Are there things, Paige said she had breakfast by herself, but is there anything else that you guys, kind of went through or learned about yourself that helped you deal with those stresses?
Something for me, I got injured freshman year, so I had wrist surgery after my sophomore year. So going through those injuries, I was still able to play, but I had to go through a lot of rehab, like, during the week. So I was able to play. I absolutely love my trainer. And so I would go in early and hang out with her, like gossip, and I absolutely loved her. So it was definitely a balance of, doing what you got to do to, perform the best you can on the court, but also taking that time for yourself. And so I always love going in early and hanging out with Danielle and hanging out in the training room. So I think that was something.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important to find things that you can do to eliminate stress. It's feel like it's different for everyone. What I do is I just listen to music and go for runs. It's kind of productive, and also just sometimes the best way to deal with things is just to face them head on. So like if I had a bunch of work that I was stressing about, I would just go to the library, go to the basement, and just grind through it all. I feel like we were talking about, staying organized is very important, and all those things to help mitigate everything that's going on.
I would say even one thing that helped me, especially when I'm feeling stressed, and I still sometimes do this, is like do something that is not necessarily productive, but is going to make you feel better, whether that's like getting your nails done if you're really stressed, or like, like for me, it was like taking a bath sometimes, like, I don't know, whatever it is, like you got to make sure you're putting yourself first too, because it is stressful. There's a lot going on, but you got to make sure that you're in the right headspace to do it, or else it's just going to get worse, and so just making sure that you remember that, like, that self-care is actually really important, and it helps you get everything you want to do done.
It might seem cheesy, but FaceTiming your parents honestly can help quite a bit when you're really stressed out in college and you feel like everything's going wrong, your life's going to shame, you're going to be a failure, whatever it may be. Your parents really put everything into perspective for you and can just be like, hey, you're going to be fine. Like, don't stop crying. You're going to be okay. So really relying on those sources of support around you and FaceTiming, even just a 5-minute phone call can really just boost your mood if you're feeling really stressed.
You can also get support from just your other friends at college too, because everyone there is going through the same things.
Elise,
What do
a
you-
question came
yeah.
in here.
Yeah, go for it.
Says, not everyone on a team actually plays matches on the team. Is it important to make sure that you're going to be able to make and play matches, make the team and play matches?
I think, I mean, it's probably personal for everyone, but I think for me, I didn't necessarily worry about like lineup when I was like necessary. Like I wanted to play at a school that I knew that I could, but when you get there, it becomes such a team atmosphere. You want to do what's best for your team, and you're all just trying to push to get the best out of yourselves, and that inherently makes the team better. So I wouldn't necessarily say that, you know, lineup is everything, but for me, I really did want to play, and that was something that I took into account when I looked at somewhere.
Yeah, I guess for Bentley, our team isn't that big, so and we're all like a very similar level, so we usually everyone ends up playing at least at my school, whether it's rotating doubles partners or depending on the match, whoever's in the singles lineup. We're constantly changing positions. I feel like, but it's not the end of the world if you're not in the lineup. Maybe as a freshman going in, like you'll get your chance. You just have to work as hard as you can. I feel like if you're not in the lineup, maybe that's an extra motivator to push yourself. I feel like it will all work out.
Yeah, we have a pretty big team of girls. We actually had the biggest team we've ever had this past season. So, you have like a lot of people fighting for spots because obviously everyone wants to play. I think it's definitely more motivating because, you want to, give to your team. And I think once you adapt the mindset of wanting the team to win and not just wanting you to win, you start putting everyone else before you. And it's not just about you anymore. So that's a very big difference between junior tennis because you win individually, you lose individually. College tennis, you win together and you lose together. It's not just about you. So once you realize that everyone else is being put first in the program and the team name is first, then it doesn't matter. You want your whole team to win at the end of the day so that you're all going to be happy together and that's going to make, everything better. So I think, yeah, obviously, you want to be in the lineup and you want to work as hard as you can, but everyone around you, you want to put whatever lineup is going to help you succeed at the end of the day, just to, advance your program.
I think also once you get to that level with your team where you're practicing all the time, basically all week, you're going to start to play at that same level as your teammates eventually if you're practicing with them all the time and playing matches with them. So you'll start to get up to that level and be able to be competitive in that atmosphere. And even just as a freshman, like everybody was saying, you might not be in the starting lineup, but there's so many opportunities along the way, along your 4 years in college. So I wouldn't discount it right from.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with everyone. I think, you give it all, no matter where you're playing or what you're doing. So to wrap this up, if you guys had one piece of wisdom to share, what would it be?
So this might be a little cheesy, but I feel like the biggest thing is just not to give into the stress. Like there's definitely a lot of overwhelming things going on like during this stage of your lives and even in the world right now. And so it's definitely easier said than done. But I think you just got to try to find a place where you can be happy and grow as a person, and try to take advantage of every new opportunities that you're presented with, and then just trust that things will work out in the end, and then enjoy every second of the journey because it goes by pretty quick.
I think for me, the biggest piece of advice of wisdom I can give is to just meet as many people as you possibly can, because that's going to open up more doors for you on campus and off campus. Just making as many friends as possible, whether that be on your team, off your team, in classes, in the dining hall, just, introduce yourself to as many people as possible, involve yourself in as many things as possible, because ultimately that's just going to, broaden your range of interests. And I think, yeah, kind of going what Connor said, just, do things that are going to keep you on track. And if you get stressed, just reset and listen to music, eat a sandwich alone in the basement, take the time you need to be better so that you can keep moving forward.
I would say definitely go to a school you love first. Take away tennis. College is a lot more than just your sport. Lots of growth as a person, and a great way to further your education. But just you experience so many different things that, is so unique to college itself that, obviously tennis is a big part of that, but you want to make sure that you're at a place that you're going to love, that you can call home, and you can look back fondly at those memories, because it really does go by fast.
When I told people that I was going to UNH in the beginning, I would get these weird looks like, oh, you're going to UNH, a state school, like almost as if people really look down on it instead of going to more of a, I guess, prestigious university stereotypically. So I guess kind of my advice would be go where you think is best for you. It doesn't matter if other people think, oh, you're not going to that premier school that has this title and then millions of dollars in funding or whatever it's called. You really need to gauge what's best for you and what you think will make the most out of your college experience. And also, like Connor was saying, what the return on your investment is really going to be. If you really want that to be tennis, if you really want that to be your degree in academics, or if you really just want to avoid student loans along the way, evaluate what your priorities are and really focus on that in your college search.
I wish I would have taken some of your guys' advice.
And Elise, just chiming in here, what would be your number one piece of advice? Being a former player, now a coach, what would you say?
I would say be present. I think for me, my freshman, it's just kind of what everyone else, like, I just, you learn about a lot about yourself. And I think, I regret not being more present, at the beginning. I think I was just so excited and there was a lot going on. And then, you learn a little bit more about yourself. And, as those years, as you're hitting sophomore year and you're like, okay, I only have 3 more years. And then junior years, okay, I only have 2. So I, just being really present, enjoying every moment, like give yourself that time to enjoy it. I think sometimes you get lost in, winning a big match, or you got a test the next day, so you don't want to enjoy it. But I soak it all in and, just, be present.
That's great. That's really good advice. Woody, are there any other questions at this point?
No, Shauna, that's it.
Okay, perfect. Elise, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, just thank you guys. Thank you, Paige, Connor, Maggie, Allison, Alyssa. You all did really well. Just happy to be here and get to know you guys even a little bit more from before. So this was awesome.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And thank you for being so honest, especially just about the transition. And that, I think, is what everyone needs to hear. You've been through it. The players who are starting to go through it, that's what they need to hear. They need to hear it's going to be hard. It's not always going to be easy. You're going to, want to be present. You want to take the time and eat your sandwich by yourself in the basement, or have breakfast by yourself, or, all of that. So thank you for being so honest. And we will have this recording ready for everybody tomorrow. And if you have any questions for the panelists, just feel free to send us an email and we'll get that question out to them and respond to you. Right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.